Force be with us today as we are diving in talking about Star Wars Celebration, which just premiered its big showcase panel announcing a ton of new things for the shows, but specifically 3 new movies and giving us a whole bunch of trailers. Now, I've already covered the trailers on my channel with trailer reactions and reviews, so you can go check those out down below in the links below. But what I really want to center on in this video is talking about the state of Star Wars before this panel, talking about the news and what it excited me and kind of some of the tidbits through there, specifically the 3 movies. And then at the end of this video, talk about what I actually think will come from this. Now, I'm not in London. I could not attend. I regret it because I absolutely should have just gone. I went to Star Wars Celebration last year, and it was a blast. I had fun with it, but I was a little bit disappointed by just some of the unorganization of the entire showcase and the panel itself. But without that said, the state of Star Wars has not been the best lately. And I say that more as just a gigantic fan. When it comes down to franchises alone, Star Wars is my favorite franchise of all time. Point blank, there's no other franchise in this world that I love more. But when I look at Star Wars, it's a little bit broken, specifically in the movie department. We haven't had a new movie since Rise of Skywalker. Every new movie that gets announced from Lucasfilm just gets canceled or destroyed or just goes up into flames.
This is fine.
Every time something gets announced from Star Wars, I get excited, and then shortly after, it gets just destroyed. Waking up 3 a.m. my time to cover this panel, I was a little bit apprehensive about what they were exactly going to be announcing here, and actually, what would Kathleen Kennedy actually give us here? Even when it comes down to the shows, I have liked pretty much all the shows. I like this new season of Mandalorian, but it seems like, again, it is splitting the fan base with certain reactions, and look at Book of Boba Fett kind of doing the same thing there. Personally, for me, though, I have really liked all the shows. Even Book of Boba Fett, for all of its faults, I thought was kind of a fun time. But Andor, if we're looking at anything, was freaking spectacular. I've wanted is Star Wars to come back because Star Wars has always been mixed up with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and specifically the fan base all being centered around in there. And I just want Lucasfilm to give us back that oomph that we need because I love this universe so much. So with the state of Star Wars out of the way and how you guys know that I feel on Star Wars, jumping now, we're going to go into how the panels kind of went out, starting with Andor. And within Andor, they didn't really give too many tidbits. They had the cast and crew come out. They came and talk about it. They said that they are halfway through filming season 2 so far. I love the first season. They should be done around late August 2023, which then leaves us to a premiere in next August 2024. That's the estimated date. I could see it maybe going a little bit earlier than that, a little bit later, kind of just depending on the shuffle of every other show around Disney Plus, because Marvel's got a lot of shows and Star Wars still has a lot of shows as well. And instantly after Andor, we finally got more news on The Acolyte, which has been one of the shows that I have been just clamoring for. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer. You guys should absolutely go check out the link down below to Ren Geekness. He's the person I do the podcast with every time. Great friend of the channel. He was there in the room tweeting out all of his different stuff. You can find that link down below. You can get even more tidbits from all the little stuff that they even mentioned throughout interviews and when the cast and crew had come up. I was excited for The Acolyte. I'm sad we didn't get to see the teaser trailer, but it seems like a lot of people in the panel did get to see something. And the panel started out with a Wookiee coming out with a lightsaber attached to him, which then leads us to be finding out that this is a Jedi Master Wookiee, played by the same guy who's actually been doing Chewbacca in the later films within the Star Wars franchise. The details that they kind of went into a little bit more was more about how the Acolyte is from the perspective of the villains. It's set between the High Republic and the beginning of the prequels, and the showrunner, Leslie Headland, who I'm a major fan of, she said that this is Frozen meets Kill Bill. And that's pretty interesting. And Kathleen Kennedy said she already saw the first 4 episodes and they were awesome. I don't know how much we can take for her word from that. Apparently there are lots and lots of Jedis in this. The fact that the show is actually going to be inspired by a lot of Kurosawa, which after watching Star Wars Visions and getting that awesome samurai episode, I think was like the first one, getting more Kurosawa in the Star Wars universe, count me in. The cool stuff that we did get to hear about is the trailer for The Acolyte did get the premiere in there. It's not out to the public. It's probably leaked out somewhere, but I have not seen it. But going off what my friend said, he tweeted out, "We've been given a trailer for The Acolyte. It gloriously brings the High Republic era to life. Lots of Jedi and lots of Padawans. Clearly a time of prosperity in the galaxy till an assassination attempt is made on Jedi Master Carrie Ann Moss." And one of the other things someone else made, Jermaine Lusser, who said that the first Acolyte footage was awesome. You see Carrie Ann Moss as a Jedi fighting with a Malda's ninja-looking character complete with a face mask. Tons of Jedi, tons of temple, and the final shot had like 8 Jedis lighting up their sabers all at once. Now, I'm not fully versed inside the whole High Republic stuff, but I have read from there. I've quite enjoyed, and if anything is to be said, The Acolyte is probably my most anticipated Star Wars series next year. That was about it that we all got for The Acolyte. So then jumping in, they went into The Mandalorian, and they didn't really share too many tidbits on there. Everyone in the panel got to see a little bit more than we actually did, and I didn't want to dive too much into this. Apparently everyone in the panel did get to see The Mandalorian the first 7 minutes of the next episode, and that it was incredible. Now, if you don't want to hear anything about this, skip to the next section. I'm going to hold my hand up until I'm done talking, but apparently you do get to see Moff Gideon. He's in that first 7 minutes, and he mentions Thrawn. If you know Thrawn, we already got that name drop in Season 2. It's coming back again, and they're actually going to be showing all of Episode 7 tonight for The Mandalorian for Star Wars Celebration, and anyone in attendance. It's awesome because last year when we went, they actually showed the first 2 episodes of Kenobi to all of us fans, so that was exciting, and it's awesome that people there get to see something from Star Wars early. Maybe they'll even show the finale and surprise them all. I don't know if they would, because maybe there will be a lot too many spoilers out there, but I'm definitely excited to hear the reactions for Episode 7, and I cannot wait to see it next week, specifically after hearing my friend Ren talk about that opening 7 minutes. Instantly after that, they jumped into Skeleton Crew. Now, I haven't been too excited about this show. This is actually going to be produced by John Watts, the creator of the Spider-Man trilogy that we just got with Tom Holland, and it seems like he actually pitched this during the production of Far From Home. Jon Favreau took that, they came to creation, and they've explained this as kind of like Goonies meets Star Wars within like very high inspiration from the Amblin productions, which if you've ever watched the Amblin films back in the day, like E.T. and Goonies, this is going to be something in that vein. While they didn't show anything for us, and it was just like blurry screenshots of people sharing online, what I'm most excited about actually with the Skeleton Crew is the fact that we found out that Jude Law, who's playing the main character in here with these kids, is a Jedi. So I'm very interested to see what they do. I wish they would have discussed a little bit more of the timeline that it's in. We just know it's in the New Republic era. The best and exciting news about everything, though, besides the Jude Law stuff, the fact that they actually announced every single one of the directors for this, and 4 out of the 6 are all from A24, and I'm excited for this. John Watts, David Lowery, who I'm absolutely obsessed with, the Daniels, Jake Shear, Bryce Dallas Howard, love her, and Lee Isaac Chung, and that's great. Now, the only one that I haven't actually seen any of their A24 stuff yet is Jake Schreier, who's actually going to be directing the Thunderbolts movie for the Marvel Studios, but he also just had a show release on Netflix called Beef. I'm going to start watching it this week. I've heard it's excellent. Coming immediately after Skeleton Crew, Dave Filoni comes back and starts talking about Ahsoka. We got a trailer. I'm not going to talk too much about the trailer, but they did show more looks at, of course, Ahsoka. They showed us looks at Sabine, and finally got the confirmation that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is going to be playing Hera. That trailer was awesome. We get to see some Sith in here, which like their lightsabers are cool colors, and the show is going to be premiering in August 2023. If you want more of my thoughts on everything within Ahsoka, go check out my trailer reaction, because I was just flipping out about it the entire time. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this all, and really much why you guys came here, because, you know, there was an Indiana Jones trailer. I watched it, I reacted to it. If you want the Indiana Jones news, there's that, but we're here to talk Star Wars. And first off, I've been kind of iffy on these movies. And I knew that they were going to announce some, but they announced 3 new movies, and they showed a timeline of that I'm going to put up on the screen that shows the Old Republic, the High Republic, the Fall of the Jedi, the Reign of the Empire, the Age of the Rebellion, the New Republic, and the Rise of the First Order. And this is kind of like their timeline. They want to show that these future Star Wars movies, which they announced 3, are each going to take place in a different time period within this timeline, and that this, in a way, is our actual timeline that we are following for Star Wars. Now, whether other movies get announced that are actually like straight into all these and they do bounce around, and we get to bounce around more into the Fall of the Jedi, more of the Reign of the Empire, which is stuff that we've, again, been through for quite a bit. The 3 new movies they announced are pretty huge, and they all have directors attached. First off, we have a James Mangold one. We have a Dave Filoni directing one, and then a director that I'm not completely familiar with stuff that she's done. I know that she did an episode of Miss Marvel, from my understanding. Sharmeen Chinoy. And each and every one of these directors, I love where they are putting them, where they are putting their movies per se, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how they bring this all to life. This timeline interests me. I'm not going to get too excited until I actually start seeing, like, what are the release dates for this? When are we getting them? Are they actually happening? Are they in production? And even if they're in production, are they actually going to come out? Now, I definitely think that we are getting a film in 2025. I think that is like the definitive route that they are trying to go for. And I think the first one that we will be getting is Sharmeen Chinoy's film. So let's start with that one. And this one tells a story 15 years later after the rise of Skywalker. And what we can get excited about is that Daisy Ridley is returning as Rey. Her trying to rebuild the Jedi Order. Honestly, the fact that it's Rey trying to rebuild the Jedi Order feels like the perfect next step for not just her character, but also the universe of Star Wars, specifically seeing all the stuff that we went through within the sequel trilogy. And I know the sequel trilogy broke a lot of people. Some people really liked it. Some people didn't like it. Some people absolutely hated it. Some people thought it ruined Star Wars. You're completely entitled to your own opinion. I like the sequel trilogy. I love The Force Awakens. I love The Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker was fun. But what I will say is that building off this, setting it 15 years later, seeing where Rey is, the one thing I hope to see is that John Boyega comes back and he gets to wield a lightsaber. I think that would actually be awesome. We need that. I would actually like to see both of them segue to starting this Jedi Order, and maybe, like we've seen in some of the Lego stuff, I know from my understanding is not canon, we've seen that she's been training him in there as a Jedi, and I would love to see that come to the live action and actually canonize that overall. Hopefully this is going to be the first one, because I would love to see that come into fruition. After this, though, we don't know which one comes next, but we'll start with James Mangold. James Mangold is going to be making a film about the first Jedi to wield the Force. This seems to be probably coming about into the Old Republic era, which is very exciting. It will be about the origins of the Jedi and taking place 25,000 years in the past. So this is going to be the latest, like the first thing ever that we've ever seen in Star Wars within live action. From my understanding, even over the cartoons and books. That really excites me to be able to go that far in the past, and it's James Mangold. So if they're giving him a Star Wars movie, I have to imagine that he killed it with Dial of Destiny. Last movie that they announced was Dave Filoni coming in to direct a film. That's exciting for me because I think Dave deserves it. He's been really much the next George Lucas of everything within Star Wars. He was George Lucas's apprentice pretty much, and to see that he's going to be coming into this and building off a movie is exciting. I don't know how much I love the thoughts of this, because coming from Empire Magazine, Dave Filoni's making a film about the escalating war between the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic. It's going to be a cinematic event in the Mandalorian timeline, and pretty much, like, I guess they described it as a culmination of everything that we've seen. I had to guess how these were going to be released. I'm going to assume that it's going to go Rise of Skywalker sequel, James Mangold, and then Dave Filoni. That gives them enough time to get to Dave Filoni and probably end up the Mandoverse. I'd be surprised if this movie actually ends like Mando's story and maybe kind of puts us into the next perspective and lead us in to the sequel era. Personally, I think it's kind of risky to put this movie in theaters. I know The Mandalorian's a big thing, but are you going to connect Ahsoka in there? Are you going to connect Skeleton Crew? Are you going to connect all these things and bring them into one movie? Who's going to be the definitive main character? I mean, it's Dave Filoni. So is it going to be Ahsoka? I would have no problem with that, because Ahsoka is my favorite personal Star Wars character, but I would rather see something different in that universe and see Dave Filoni create a new aspect. I remember hearing back a couple years ago that that was the plan, to bring in the Mandoverse into the movies and kind of culminate everything there. I didn't actually think it was real, but it seems like it's coming to be. And that's it. That's what was announced. There's a lot of tidbits in there that I probably did miss, so definitely go check out Ren Geekness and a bunch of people on Twitter, because they were all tweeting out every little tidbit that was coming out. But those are the big pieces that I think absolutely need to be seen. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, and if you think that if these all hit it out of the park, will this save Star Wars for you? Are you still a Star Wars fan? Are you excited for this? What is the most excited project for you for this all? For me, I'm excited for each and every one of these movies for different reasons. But I'm also very interested to see like what goes further. I mean, they didn't even really talk about the Taika Waititi film that they're supposed to be announced. There's been some rumblings that maybe his is actually going to be taking place during the Old Republic. I don't necessarily know how much I believe that, but I'm open to everything. I just want some good Star Wars content, and maybe not just good, but some damn near excellent Star Wars content. So let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are. Again, I think if this all goes well, this could maybe save the fan base, but it's been so structured and ripped apart for quite a few years. Can they do it? Can they save it? We'll find out. But may the Force be with us all, and remember that this is the way. I'll see you guys next Wednesday for the Mandalorian Episode 7 review that I have coming up. Thank you so much again, and of course, stay classy.